"Sir, we have lost pressure in P-14F," crewman Roth announced to the bridge. To no one's surprise, Admiral Strife, who lay slumped over in his command chair in his stained and ancient uniform, did not reply. "Sir," he said once more forcefully, "we've lost pressure in P-14F," waking Strife from his nap. The Admiral said nothing, as valuable seconds passed, as he apparently tried to process the information, though Roth wondered just how much the old man was aware of now. Every day he seemed to deteriorate just a little bit more. He'd been a superstar once, a member of royalty, brother and then uncle to a fleet master, a respected diplomat and a decorated war hero. Now he commanded a ship to nowhere in particular, for seemingly no reason at all. Roth had been excited when he had made it as bridge crew, over the moon when he realised he'd be serving under Strife. The Strife. But that was 6 months ago. He really had admired the man, but now, after serving under him, he found very little to admire. Unnecessarily cruel, easy to anger, and his air of superiority. But Roth could deal with all of those things. He had dealt with all of those things the whole way through the academy. He, however, could not forgive the old man's weakness. His non-stop moaning about the quality of his food, the strength of his shower, and the hardness of his bed. All of which were a much higher quality than anything his crew had ever known. Another light flashed on the crewman's screen. Sir, we've lost pressure in P-12H. 6 months ago, a lot of things had not made sense to him. Bridge crews were generally made up of the family and friends of the high status. He was neither of those things, just poor and connectionless. He was even more surprised to learn that this was the case for every other member of the crew. He thought at the start that he must have really impressed someone, that maybe someone had wanted to inject new blood into the Navy. But after half a year of investigating rural outposts, barren and often deserted space colonies, and abandoned mining asteroids, it was clear now that their mission was to babysit the old man. He must have annoyed someone, and they were sticking him out of the way. He couldn't be upset though. The wages that he would earn from this trip would be more money than his father would make in a decade. With this money, he could buy his mother a home. She could spend the rest of her life living on a planet with low gravity, fresh air, and a garden. The mission would award him no glory, but would afford him something much better. "I've begun to lock down the area," the crewman announced, deciding not to wait on the orders. He looked at his fellow crewmen and shared a quiet laugh at the aged man's expense. "Microasteroids?" the old man asked. "Most likely, sir," the crewman replied. The helmsman had already begun the appropriate evasive manoeuvres. Moments earlier, the lights had dipped and the computer screens flickered, which likely suggested that one of the bridge's engineers had diverted power to the targe to reinforce the ship's hull. The ship shook. Another section decompressed. "Sir, we've lost pressure on H-12, the old man said, finishing Roth's sentence. "Yes, sir," Roth replied, surprised by the Admiral's apparent piece of clairvoyancy. "Emergency jump," the old man yelled. A pregnant silence fell over the crew. A jump would be the last thing you should do while in the proximity of asteroids. The CTR, while in operation, span at 12,000 RPM. Contact with an asteroid could tear it apart and send debris flying at the ship. "Sir, I would advise," the RT spoke up. "Jump," he repeated, shouting this time. "Something's taking shots at us." The old man had come to life again, as if some old muscle memory had kicked in, as if the man he had once been, the man they had heard about, had returned. The RT returned to his station, preparing to jump in 90 seconds. The ship began to gently hum as the CTR began to move towards the ship's helm, and the 90-second countdown began. "They're firing at our long-distance communications," the old man explained to no one in particular. They don't want us to send a message back to the home fleet. Surely the old man was senile, Roth thought. He was having some flashback to the war. The rest of the crew did not seem to think so. The smug, superior smiles had been replaced with concern. He looked around the bridge, and with nothing but glances to communications and the head of security, confirmed the old man's intuition. He was right. They were actually being fired on. Roth's hands shook. Ship battles were something he'd heard about. He tried to focus on his computer and seal off the affected decks. Radio the El Franco outpost, the old man ordered. Tell them we're under attack. They're not trying to kill us. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be, he said, seemingly trying to reassure the crew. Sir, we're getting nothing back from the outpost, the communications officer replied. They must have got to them already, the old man laughed. They'll not take us though, not alive anyway. Roth couldn't breathe. I'm going to die, he thought. 60 seconds until jump, the RT announced to the bridge. Another light flashed on his screen. 2 more shots hit the ship, one either side of the ring. Sir, he stuttered. I think they're aiming for the CTR. Sir. Understood, the old man replied. Roth thought he'd seen him smile. Roth gripped tightly at his panel and tried to find himself. He looked at the screen. The first shots had only hit empty portions of the ship. The last 2 had not. Both had penetrated walls of the living quarters. There were people in there, probably. He tried to think who would be in there before he stopped himself. Sir, should I lock down the affected areas? There seems to be people in them. His fingers hovered over the panel, waiting for his order. Do your job, the old man said coldly, before shouting another command in another direction. The old man had seen straight through him, Roth thought. Knew exactly what his intentions were. He didn't want to be responsible. He just wanted to take orders. His fingers hovered over the switch. Every second he waited, the ship lost more atmosphere, increasing the chances of cataclysmic failure to the hull. But every second he hesitated was a second for a crew member to escape. His inaction was action, he told himself. 45 seconds to jump. Roth felt the ship shake. They'd been hit, but the shot had not penetrated the hull. Another shot at the CTR, sir, Roth shouted. It's very close. It was very close. Abandon the jump. Detach the ring, the old man ordered. We're going to have to fight. The old man had decided to go to war in less time than it took Roth to close a door. Sir, another voice from the crew shouted. We're losing atmosphere from somewhere. Roth didn't look up. He locked down the bunk area, damning anyone inside. May God forgive me. Found the leak, Roth shouted. It's fixed. Disconnecting the CTR while in motion was not a straightforward task. It had to be explosively ejected away from the ship. Prepare for ejection, the RT shouted. The ship rocked with a bang, and the ring disappeared into the darkness. Pilot, fly directly for the enemy, the old man ordered. Gunner, have the railgun prepared and fire once you have a shot. Roth pushed himself into his chair and blindly searched for his air mask. Sir, communications called. We're getting a message. It's from the ship. Spit it out, he shouted. Surrender, surrender, and you will live. The ship jerked round at such a rate that it brought Roth to the edge of consciousness. Now pointing directly at the ship made them a much smaller target, and their main weapon was now pointing directly at their attacker. Though this ship was not built for war. The ship shook once again, but this time it was their own weapon. Shot fired, sir. As if they needed to be told. The shockwave from the weapon felt as if it might rip their own ship apart. Contact! Launch torpedoes! Torpedoes not armed yet, sir. Damn it! Launch as soon as they are. The ship shook once more, and the sound of another railgun shot tearing through the upper decks nearly deafened them. Roth's screen once again lit up as each section lost pressure. He hesitated again, but only briefly this time. Even if he shot someone in, it was unlikely any of them were to survive. Another message, sir. That was their last warning shot. Surrender or they will be forced to destroy us. Keep firing, the old man screamed. It's huge, sir. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Losing pressure. What the hell is that? We're no match for it. They're going to kill us. The ship shook once more from their own weapon, and Roth wondered how much the ship could take. It was not a ship built for war. Contact. Torpedo active and launched. Brace, brace, brace. When Roth regained consciousness, he was woken to the sound of the ship being shaken apart. Entering the atmosphere, the pilot announced, "Brace for impact." "I'm going to die," he thought. A portion of the bridge's roof had ripped off, revealing a grey sky and fresh air. That's not possible, he thought. The bridge was located at the centre of the ship. Where was the rest of the ship? He glanced at his screen. Every light was flashing. She would not hold much longer. With every passing second, the ship's shake became more aggressive. "Brace, brace," the voice screamed. "We're going to die. We are all going to die. Brace, 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 brace."